Okay, so imagine this for a second. You're in a lab, it's quiet, maybe a bit too quiet, and there's this almost ominous hum. And you look down, and in a petri dish, there's this tiny, tiny speck of plastic pulled from the deepest part of the ocean. But it's pulsing, like it's alive. It's a really unsettling image, isn't it? Observed by Dr. Aris Thorne. And that image, that's kind of where our deep dive kicks off today. Now, you've probably seen the headlines, right? Microplastics in the air, in our water, even found in human blood. It's alarming. But what if it's more than just pollution? What if this, this silent invasion is actually hinting at something, well, much stranger, more transformative? Today we're digging into excerpts from a really chilling piece. It's called The Polymerization of Humanity by Israel A Posner. And get this, it's described as being based on a true finding, which definitely grabs your attention. So our mission here is to unpack this vision, a future where all our convenience maybe leads to this completely unforeseen transformation of, well, us, humanity itself. What are the key ideas, the sort of aha moments in this story for you? Let's get into it. So the story doesn't start with Dr. Thorne's discovery, right? It goes back decades earlier to what the source calls the age of convenience. And plastic was, I mean, it was hailed as this miracle material. It changed everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Packaging, buildings, everyday life. It was revolutionary.
But the warnings about it sticking around, about it not breaking down, people just kind of brushed those off, didn't they? Called it alarmist.
Exactly. And the picture the narrative paints is pretty stark. You know, landfills overflowing, these huge garbage patches swirling in the oceans.
Right, these gyres.
And tiny plastic fragments blowing everywhere on the wind. It was literally everywhere, seen and unseen.
Mm.
And what's really striking is that those early signs were noticed by some scientists, people like Dr. Jian Li. He was Aris Thorne's mentor, actually. And he observed this weird phenomenon they called plastic rain.
Plastic rain, so like invisible plastic falling from the sky.
Pretty much. Microscopic particles just settling on everything. And those early studies, they're often scraping for funding, easily ignored.
Yeah.
But they hinted that these particles weren't just landing on things, they were getting into the food chain.
And into us.
And into us, which, modern science is actually confirming now microplastics are found in our bodies, in our organs.
Yeah, I've seen those reports.
But this story takes that speculative leap, right? Beyond just presence to integration. Yet back then, the public was largely, well, apathetic. The source says they were lulled by a sense of invincibility and the convenience plastic offered.
That's powerful. Lulled by convenience. It really makes you think how easily we can normalize things, even unsettling things, when they make life easier.
It does.
And so into this kind of atmosphere, this apathy, comes young Aris Thorne. The source calls her a bright-eyed graduate student, and she joins Dr. Lee's team because she's convinced. She believes this silent invasion is way more dangerous than people realize. She sees the bigger picture.
Exactly. And their core theory was deeply unsettling. They proposed that because these particles were so incredibly tiny and so everywhere, they could potentially bypass our body's defenses.
Bypass them how?
Leading to, well, the key idea, cellular integration. Not just floating around inside us, but actually becoming part of ourselves.
Wow, so changing us from the inside out.
Fundamentally.
Yeah.
Altering cell composition, cell function. And the narrative says their pleas, their calls for global action, they just went largely unheard. Why? They were drowned out by the roar of industry and the apathy of a world hooked on disposability.
Industry and apathy. A powerful combination.
It really makes you consider, doesn't it? What happens when convenient truths win out over inconvenient warnings? Especially warnings is critical.
It's a chilling thought. And the story makes it incredibly personal with Aris's own experience. It starts so subtly for her. Just a slight sheen on her skin. Easy to dismiss. Maybe dry skin, maybe lotion.
Or strange stiffness in her joints. She probably blamed it on long hours at the lab, right? Hunching over microscopes.
Exactly. Things you'd rationalize away until you just couldn't anymore.
And the escalation, according to the source, was terrifyingly fast. One night, she reaches for something, a coffee mug, and her fingers just wouldn't bend. They were stiff, cold, and weirdly smooth. She goes to a mirror, and her reflection, it's described as a nightmare. Her skin is pulled taut, almost like porcelain. It has this unnerving gleam.
Not like normal skin at all.
Not at all. Her eyes are losing their warmth, becoming sort of glassy, and there's this faint line like a seam forming along her jaw, as if pieces are joining together.
That's incredibly creepy. And the sounds and smells, too.
Right, the source adds these visceral details, this strange, plastic-like cracking sound from deep within her bones when she tried to move.
Oh, God. Like her body is fighting itself.
And the smell. Not antiseptic anymore, but this faint chemical odor, like melting plastic coming from her.
From her own body.
That's horrific.
Then comes the pivotal moment. A sharp pain in her arm. And a tiny piece of her skin flakes off. But it doesn't just fall. It lands with a delicate, almost musical clink. Because it's not skin anymore. It's brittle, translucent.
Like a shard of plastic.
Exactly. And underneath, the source says it wasn't flesh, just a smooth, unyielding surface, reflecting the lab lights. Hard, precise, undeniable proof. And the realization just hits her. The microplastics, they weren't just contaminants. They were integrating, colonizing, transforming her.
Yeah.
She was literally becoming the problem she was trying to solve. Her mind is still sharp, but it's trapped inside this hardening shell.
A terrifying thought.
And the last thing she sees before her eyes are sealed is that pulsing microplastic in the dish, like an alien heart beating out of victory. That personal transformation, Aris's story, it just makes the horror feel so real, doesn't it? It's not abstract anymore.
Absolutely. It really grounds it. It shows how these insidious threats, the ones that creep up quietly, can challenge our very idea of self, of what a body even is.
It forces you to confront just how vulnerable we might be to the things we create.
Precisely.
So what happens next? Aris Thorne disappears. Makes headlines, sure, but it's initially written off as, a tragic lab accident, plausible enough.
Right. Until others start reporting the same things.
Exactly. The source says people started coming forward with similar symptoms, that inexplicable hardening skin, losing flexibility, that weird synthetic sheen.
So it wasn't just her.
Not at all. Panic starts to spread, fast. News cycles are suddenly dominated by this thing they start calling plasticosis.
Plasticosis, the medical term for becoming plastic.
Yeah. Watching people just slowly, irreversibly transform, horrifying.
So the governments, they finally react.
Oh, yeah. Big time. The source says they poured trillions into research. International task forces, scientists scrambling.
Trying to find a cure, a way to reverse it.
They tried, but it was futile. The microplastics were just too deep, too fundamentally intertwined with human biology, as the source puts it.
So not an external enemy you could remove.
No. It had become part of us. It had fundamentally changed what us meant. Early treatments just made things worse.
Wow. So what did they find? Was there any pattern?
There was.
Yeah.
And it's pretty chilling. The source points out a pattern. People in densely populated areas, people eating lots of processed foods, basically those most exposed to the modern plastic-filled environment. They were the first to fully convert.
So our lifestyle, our choices, they directly influence the speed of this transformation.
Seems so. It really makes you think about the hidden costs of, modern living, where we live, what we eat.
Yeah. So if they couldn't reverse it, what did they do? Just give up?
Not exactly. The world had to adapt to this new normal, as they called it. Medical research shifted focus.
From reversing it to what? Managing it.
Exactly. Managing the transformation. And life as a plast human, as they became known, well, it had challenges, but also some unexpected upsides.
Upsides.
Yeah.
To becoming plastic.
According to the source, yes. They were described as incredibly durable, resistant to many diseases. They didn't even need to breathe air or eat in the traditional way anymore.
Durable? Efficient, maybe.
Very. Their movements became precise, senses sharper but devoid of warmth. Emotions became muted, processed with kind of cold, logical efficiency.
So less human in that sense.
Yeah.
Less feeling.
Definitely. And society had to change drastically, too.
Yeah.
Cities were redesigned, think smooth, easy to clean surfaces, functional. Sterile, almost.
And food production, if they didn't eat.
It dwindled. Why grow food nobody needs?
Yeah.
And reproduction. Well, that stopped too, as we know it anyway.
So how did new plast humans form?
Through that same gradual, inevitable process of integration, the rest of the population just slowly, silently converted over time. It wasn't birth, it was transformation.
Good heavens. So the bigger picture here, humanity didn't fight it off, it sort of became it?
In a way, yes. The source suggests that humanity, in its desperate struggle for survival, had inadvertently created a new form of itself.
Wow.
The world became this silent, highly efficient plastic sheen society, totally altered by the thing they'd ignored for so long.
And Aris Thorne.
She was still there, long since fully transformed, just one among millions. A silent sentinel, the source calls her, in a world that had, ironically, become exactly what she had feared most. A monument to plastic.
A monument to plastic. That's quite an image. It's a stark reminder of how trying to survive can fundamentally change what survival even means.
It really is. I mean, this whole narrative, starting from that tiny pulsing speck and ending with a global transformation, it just fundamentally challenges our ideas about progress, about convenience.
It absolutely does. And the implications are profound, aren't they? The story asks, what if the final frontier was not space, but the very essence of what it meant to be human?
Right, redefining humanity itself.
And it forces a difficult question. If the things we create, the very materials of our modern world, can become these insidious agents of change, what responsibility do we actually bear for what we unleash?
That's a heavy one. The story frames it as the whispers of plastic rain turning into a global chorus that humanity ultimately had to dance to. So it leaves us, and you listening, with this thought. What parts of our lives right now, the things driven by convenience, the things we barely think about, what might be laying the groundwork for some other unforeseen fundamental transformation of our world, or maybe even of ourselves?
Something to definitely mull over.